I have realized that there is a new way to use tapping as an approach. Now, I'm a huge proponent of having a clear goal every single time I sit down to tap to make sure I'm getting the most out of each round of tapping and each tapping session. Over the last few months, I realized that I had two ways to approach tapping that I had pushed together into one, and recognizing that they're two different approaches has transformed the way I'm able to get more out of every tapping session, and I can't wait to share that with you today. This is Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast, recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 613, originally aired May 29th, 2024. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to experience this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Now, one of the reasons why I love tapping so much is we can use it for so many different things. I can use it for emotional first aid to calm me down in a moment. I can use it to clear a limiting belief, to heal a past memory, to manage my pain, to clear a substance sensitivity, and that's just to name a few. Now, for me, it's really important I know what I am trying to do when I sit down to tap, because it allows me to do two things. Number one, it helps me to stay on track and realize the approach I need to use, because there is a difference between tapping to make myself feel better in a moment and to clear a past memory that is haunting me. The second reason it's really useful is I now have a measuring stick. When I know what I am trying to do, what it does is it puts me in a position where I can actually see if I'm making progress. So after I do a couple of rounds of tapping, I can take a deep breath, go back to the beginning and go, okay, great. Where am I now? Where am I trying to get? How much closer am I? Because sometimes I can be in a circumstance where even though there's still an issue hanging around, I can stop tapping and return to my day because the tapping has done its job. So having that clarity makes it so much easier to make sure our tapping is efficient and we can measure the results. And so over the course of the last couple of months, I've been giving a lot of thought to how I am in my body, how I am in the moment. And what I realized was I was taking tapping for how I feel and tapping for the state that I was in, and I was mashing them together. And so today I wanted to see what it's like to separate those two and share with you how I now tap to change my state. Now, before we do this, if you are new to tapping, tapping is this amazingly powerful tool. It's a tool that I use every single day for myself. I use it with my clients regularly. It is something that I absolutely love. If you are new to tapping, all you need to do is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you to learn2tap.com. You will get the basic instructions on how you can get the most out of tapping right away. And if you got any questions about that, just drop me a note on that website and I'll make it even clearer for you so you can get the most out of this super powerful tool. To begin with, what we need to do is we need to have common vocabulary. Whenever I teach a class, I always define my terms at the beginning of a class, not because I want my students to agree with the way I define things, but as I go through a teaching, when I say something, then I'll know exactly where I'm coming from. So you don't have to take these as your definitions, but these are the working definitions that I use as we dive into this particular subject. So for me, there is a difference between my feelings and my state. My feelings are the emotions that I have, which are based on how I am interpreting what is going on around me. So it is me plus my environment creating an emotional response. And I'll give you a perfect example. If you showed up to my apartment with some freshly baked cookies, I could have one of two responses to you. First, I could be over the moon because I love cookies. Or second, I could be really frustrated because I just started a diet and you're literally bringing temptation to my front door. So the moment was exactly the same. You showed up with fresh made cookies. The way I felt about that was an interpretation. It was good or it was bad based on the context. And every emotion that we feel is giving us information about how we are interpreting in a moment. It's the information that our system is bringing forward. When I'm frustrated, it is my system simply saying, I have a need or I have a desire that's not being met. My internet is out. It is not turning back on. I have work to do. I feel frustrated. Overwhelm. Overwhelm is the information of, I feel like I have more to do than I have time and resources to do it. Sadness. That is the information that I'm disconnected from something that is important to me. So the emotions are giving us information about how we interpret a situation. Our state is different than that. Our state is our baseline. Our state is how we navigate the world in which the emotions we feel in a particular moment are built upon. If I am in the general state of groundedness, when my internet goes out, it will impact me emotionally, but that's different than if I'm in the state of stress. Then when I have that go wrong, it's going to be multiplied by the state that I'm in. So the better my state, the more positive my state, the higher vibration my state is, the less I am impacted by what's going on around me. Now you'll notice I use the word less. I didn't say I'm unaffected by what is going on around me, but it makes it significantly easier for me. Some examples of state are, I am calm, I am confident, I'm comfortable inside of my own skin, I'm peaceful, I'm energized, I'm enthusiastic, I'm curious. Now, the reason why, for the longest time, I was conflating the way that I feel and my state is because all of those states that I just listed can also be emotional responses. I can have the emotional response of curiosity when something unexpected happens. I can have the emotional response of peace when I step into a beautiful garden and all I can hear is the burbling of the fountain in the corner. And so there's a difference between what my state is and how I'm interpreting what is going on. I like to think about it like my state is deep down in the ocean, where my feelings, my emotions are the things that are happening on the surface. And so a storm rolls in and the surface can get all sorts of disjointed, but that doesn't impact in a significant way deep down. Now, over time, when something happens on the surface, it can slowly erode our state. I can be in a circumstance where I have a state of confidence about my competency as a practitioner. And because that is my general state, when I am presented with a client to work with or someone who's interested, I can step up and I can feel good about the conversation because my state is confidence and competence. But if I'm in a circumstance over time where I have multiple sessions where clients don't make progress, or even worse, I get pushback and people telling me that I'm not very good or very useful at what I'm doing. If that happens once, that's an unusual experience. Once is an anomaly, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. And so my emotional response in the moment over time can slowly erode my state. But if that's the case, if our state can be transformed negatively by our experience, then the converse must be true as well. We must be able to do things to build our state. The Course 16 program that I'm offering right now, which is a 16-session program where I work with a client over a number of issues over a long period of time. Ultimately, when I'm describing that, I'm talking about how do I become more comfortable inside of my own skin? And that's a state. And what I mean by that state is that I understand what I'm good at. I understand what I struggle with. I understand what's going on in my environment. I understand what I can control and what I can't control. Because I can feel completely comfortable in a circumstance where things aren't going well if I understand who I am and how I relate to those particular things. You could ask me for very good reason to stand up in front of a group of people and sing into a microphone. And in a lot of circumstances, I'll be okay doing that. I'm not going to do a good job because I don't have the skill, but because I understand my competency as a singer, I'm going to evaluate myself off of that. So having a state of self-awareness or a state of comfortable inside of my own skin makes it so I'm interpreting those circumstances better. Again, if you ask me to step on stage and I'm not comfortable inside of my own skin, I'm going to be scared. I'm going to feel like I'm being attacked. I'm going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to be embarrassed. But if I'm comfortable inside of my own skin, At least for me, asking me to do some things publicly is not going to be that big of the deal, even if I am bad at it. So if we are in a situation where we want to tap to transform our state, it is going to be a different process than tapping to change my emotions. Now, the most common way I tap to change my emotions is something that we would call emotional first aid. That's just where you do a little tapping in a moment to clean up what is going on so you can continue forward. Like if I cut my finger, I would go to my first aid kit, I would get a Band-Aid and I'd Band-Aid my finger up. I still have a cut. It might even be bleeding inside a little bit inside of the Band-Aid, but I'm able to carry on. So I didn't completely heal and transform what was there, but I cleaned it up enough to be present to what's going on. So in the middle of the day, if I am overwhelmed or I'm frustrated or I'm sad or I'm disappointed, the tapping I'm going to do during my day, that emotional first aid, is 90 seconds of tapping, tuning into what is going on, listening to the emotion, reframing it, and stepping into it. Changing my state isn't going to happen in 90 seconds. Okay, I'm open to the possibility that might happen. But my experience tells me if I'm going to change how I am in my body in a deeper way, that's probably going to take a little more time. And logically, that makes sense. So if I'm going to be doing tapping to change my state, for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be setting time aside to do exactly that. And so this is what the process looks like. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to name the state that we want to have. Comfortable, confident, creative, however you want to feel in a moment. Now, one thing that you might do is you might think about this in a specific role. So for example, I want to be confident at work. I want to be comfortable inside of my own skin and willing to stand up for myself in my relationships and my family. So as we choose a state, I want you to choose a place that you are in that state, because we can be in a circumstance where we're one state in one place and another somewhere else. My entryway into tapping was to dealing with my social anxiety. I was completely comfortable inside of my own skin on stage. I was completely discomforted in my own skin when I was in a one-on-one setting, which is the opposite of most people, but they are different settings. And so my baseline state were different based on my relationship to those things. So pick the state that you want to transform and pick the context that you want to change that in. Now, you can create the same state in multiple contexts, and it's easier for us to do that if we have it in one, but let's just start with one to begin with. Number 2, what you're going to do is you're going to tap, and while you tap, you're going to state all the reasons why that state would be beneficial. I'm a super proponent of us naming the reason why we want something, because the reason why is going to create motivation for us to keep wanting to make the change. Because I can intellectually go, I would like to be more peaceful, and I might engage with that. But if I start telling you the reasons why, then my heart is going to buy into it. I'm going to work harder to create that change. So as you're tapping, all you're going to do is, I recognize the fact I would like to be in a state of calm and peace, recognizing the fact that when I am working from a state of peace, no matter what comes my way, I can handle it. I'm not going to overreact. I'm not going to overfunction. I'm not going to have a large emotional response. And therefore, peace is useful in this way. So it's going to be longer than that. I just wanted to give you something simple to show what it's like. So then after we've stated why we want it, then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 4 parts of SAWD to see what is the resistance to being in that state. And so SAWD stands for safe, allowed, worthy, deserved. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to start completing sentences. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to say, it is not safe for me to be in the state of, enter the state, because. It is not safe for me to be in a grounded state because I'm going to miss something really important because I'm not focused. I'm going to come across like I don't care because I'm not as emotional as everyone around me. So I'm going to state the things that come up. Second one, allowed. I am not allowed to be in the state of calm because. Again, answer those questions, write those answers down. I am not worthy of being in a state of calm because. I'm not deserving of being in a state of calm because. And so I'm going to take those 4 sentences, I'm going to complete them, I'm going to write down the answer to those things, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to tap for those limiting beliefs that came up. And when I do that, I'm going to start to erode those limiting beliefs. So, I am afraid to be calm because I'm going to look like I don't care. So the tapping for that's going to be, I recognize the fact that when I look calm, people think I'm disengaged. But I recognize the fact it's possible for me to communicate my commitment, communicate my engagingness, and do it in such a way where I'm still calm. So you're just going to reframe it the way that makes the most sense for you. Last bit of this, what you're going to do is for the next 5 days, you're going to take 10 minutes and you're going to do this over and over and over again. And I want you to choose the same state. And the reason I want you to do this for multiple days is, again, we're changing something that is deep and fundamental. It is possible. A single tap on a single reframe is going to completely transform what is going on interior. I actually had a moment like that. When I was in 6th grade, I was someone who things would happen. I wouldn't emotionally respond, it'd build up, and then something small would happen. I would explode into tears and overwhelm, and it was very attractive because of my sinuses, and it was gross. And so I was having a conversation with my father about this one day, and he said to me, and it's good advice. He said, Gene David, it doesn't serve you to worry about the things you can't control. Now, when he said that, it just cleaved my brain and got written into my soul. And I just completely embraced it. I cannot think of another time in my life where a single piece of wisdom went all the way to my core and was instantly integrated. And so that's the reason why, even though it's possible, we can have these instantaneous transformations. For me, recognizing the fact that I need to do this over time is going to make a difference. And so just make a little worksheet. Day 1, write down the tail enders, do some tapping. Day 2, write down the tail enders that come up, compare them to day 1, do some more tapping. Do that for 5 days. It's going to transform the way you engage with your state. And so as a demonstration, I'm just going to do it for you really quick right now. Let's just do some tapping. If it's safe, if it's comfortable where you are, tap along with me. If you can say the phrases out loud with me, do that as well. We're going to tap for a sense of peace because I think that's something a lot of people want. Nice big deep breath. And just move from tapping point to tapping point. I recognize the fact I would like to have the general state of calm and groundedness. Because when I'm calm and when I'm grounded, I move much more thoughtfully. I move much more deliberately. When things don't go as planned, I have a tendency to overreact when I'm not calm. And so being in a state of peace is going to make it easier for me to move in a more thoughtful and deliberate way, which means that I'm more likely to make good choices. It is valuable for me to have my general state to be that of calm and well-being. Nice big deep breath. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to tune into the reasons why we're not safe, allowed, worthy, or deserving. And we're just going to do one of these for demonstration's sake here in the podcast. So I'm going to complete the sentence. It is not safe for me to be calm because I am not going to be fully engaged in what's going on. I'm going to look like I don't care. I'm going to miss important details because I'm not focused enough. So those are just 3 that come off the top of my head. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tap for those. There's a part of me that's afraid that if I am too calm, I'm not going to be focused. I am going to miss important details. And in the process of missing important details, I'm going to make mistakes. And I'm going to make things much harder for myself. But I recognize the fact. When I am calm and in control, I'm not passive. Instead, I'm focused on the right things. And because I'm focused on the right things, I'm much more likely to respond to the things that need responses. And I won't fret over the things that are not important. Nice deep breath. And that's a bridge. That's just one of the 3 tail enders I came up with using only one of the 4 phrases. You can see how easy it is using, it is not safe for me to have this state because I am not allowed to have, I am not deserving of having this state because I don't deserve to have the state because. Doing those 4 phrases, how much goodness and richness can come up, which makes it so easier for us to tap. It makes it so much easier for us to focus on what we are doing in the moment. And it creates a simple little process that allows us to tap to change our state. Name the state you want. Name the reason why the state is valuable. Name the tail enders why you're not safe, allowed, worthy, deserve to have that state. Tap for those concerns. Repeat. Do that over the course of the next 4 or 5 days. You're going to be shocked and amazed in the simple, subtle ways how you show up differently in the world. So I really hope you like that tool. It's really simple. It's straightforward. You don't have to do it exactly the way I presented it. Start there. Use it as a building block. If you know someone in your life who could appreciate a conversation like this, please pass this along. Even if they don't consume this episode of the podcast, you reaching out and saying, hey, this is something that's really, really valuable. I think you'll like it. I think it'll make your day better. Even if they don't click the link, even if they don't consume any of this, because you reached out and said, hey, this is valuable, their day is going to be better, which makes their world better, which makes the world better, which makes it better for all of us. And yes, that sounds so cheesy. And it also happens to be true. So reach out and do that in that particular way. As you look at the screen right now, you can see an entire playlist of all sorts of tapping tools and resources that are waiting for you. Click on the playlist, consume something else, and I look forward to talking with you and tapping with you again real soon.